Welcome to the Impact ECMO podcast. We highlight the stories of impact innovators and connect them with the allies they need to amplify the good they can do in the world. I'm your host, Jacob Haney. Welcome to the Impact ECMO podcast. So I'm here with Kenny Jardine, and my guest believes that the most beautiful places in our country don't have sidewalks. And as the Chief Business Development Officer at Extreme Modus, they're building all-terrain wheelchairs that go where traditional chairs can't. And that might be national parks or trails, sandy beaches, rocky slopes, even into the water. He's the one out forging partnerships with state and national parks and writing grants and getting those chairs into the hands of families who need them, and all while expanding the organization's reach globally. And I think fascinated by the work that you do and want to learn more about kind of where you're trying to go and how can this community help you. So Kenny, welcome.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm super excited to talk to you today. This is actually my first time ever being on a podcast. I've talked a lot in events and done stuff like this, so this is exciting for me. And definitely there's a lot of really exciting things that are happening in the outdoor space as far as accessibility.
Yeah. I mean, as a storyteller, I love hearing people's backstories, or like their inciting incident. Did a radioactive spider bite you and turn you into Spider-Man? Like, what was it that got you here? Like, what was that kind of moment that brought you to that point where you're, like being an evangelist for all access wheelchairs?
Yeah, so it was actually a story of a lot of dumb luck, but there's a lot more to it than that. In July of 2024, I made a successful exit from a business that I was doing, and I've never been somebody that's motivated by money. I'm motivated by stories, but even less so after that. And so then I saw this really terrible job posting on LinkedIn that's just, hey, we need some guy to help us with our sales. And phrase, really cool all-terrain wheelchairs, unlimited growth. That was all that it said. It was just like 4 or 5 sentences. It was super bad. And I was just like, you know what? It's here in Payson. That's where I live. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. And then I looked it up and I looked up their social media, and I was just like taken aback, because hundreds of thousands of people were interacting with our social media and saying how something like this would change their lives. And then I immediately thought to my grandpa, who lives down in St. George, Utah. He lives 30 minutes from Zion National Park. And in the 20 years that he's lived down there in Zion, he's never been able to go.
Oh, wow.
He's close to one of the most beautiful national parks in the U.S., and he's never been there. And so I immediately saw this as a solution. My grandpa can go and do this. This is the thing that I like to do. He's included now. And so that was really the catalyst behind this. Here we are almost 2 years later.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and why does the outdoors matter? Like, why does it matter to you and like to just individuals who don't have access to it? Like, what's your personal connection to the outdoors, and like for your grandpa, seeing that was, such a loss that he couldn't get into Zion Park?
Yeah, so growing up in Utah, I'm really lucky to have so many national parks, outdoor recreation being such a huge part of life here. And so I always grew up hiking with my family. It was almost every Saturday that my parents were taking us out hiking and doing something. And as the oldest of 8 kids, that was one of the only things that my parents could afford to do. And so then my grandpa on the other side of that was home. I never knew him, but doing this, but that's something that he always did, is he was always hiking. He was riding his bike. He was a professor at BYU, and he rode his bike to work every day until he got his diagnosis almost 20 years ago now, just over 20 years ago. And then over time, it was about 15 years ago that he couldn't get on his bike anymore. He couldn't go out and do things anymore. And I don't think that's fair. So I don't think anybody should be limited by any sort of disability or challenge that they have to experience what I grew up experiencing. That was my whole life. If I truly wanted to feel at one with myself, it was going outside, and it was just sitting there listening to the sounds of nature, listening to the little twigs and branches, the birds chirping. That was my upbringing. So I guess really when this opportunity presented itself, I see parents that have never been able to take their kids outside. I see people left in parking lots, and again, it's just not fair to me. So that's our whole thing, is we just want to get them out and enjoying. Again, you said it in the beginning, the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think of the times where I feel closest to the divine. It's outside, it's out in nature. And you said that a couple of times, it's not fair. And there's a lot of things not fair with like a disability, is people didn't ask for it or didn't choose into that. What kind of transformation stories, or what have been the success stories of like people that haven't been able to access the outdoors and now with this wheelchair are able to do? Yeah. And maybe to tee that up is like, describe this wheelchair, because I think if you haven't seen the clips of it, it's like, it's kind of unstoppable, but like you can go pretty much anywhere, but like describe what it's like, or like for someone listening, like paint a picture for them of why this is different than just a typical wheelchair.
Yeah. So our wheelchair is about 6 feet long. It's about 32 inches wide, and has 3 big balloon tires that are probably about 2 feet tall in the back, and then a shorter one that's probably about 12, 18 inches. So somewhere in between there. I don't know the exact. And so those balloon tires act as suspension for the person that's in the chair. So they're low pressure tires. And because of the long wheelbase, anything that you can lift and put that front tire on, you can go over it. The chair even floats in the water. We've been in places like the Narrows and Zion. We've been in the Pacific Ocean. We've been in the Atlantic Ocean, and everywhere in between. Just because our chair is really the only one that can truly open up everything.
Yeah.
So it has a cool race car seat. Wheelchairs traditionally don't look very good. And so we like to say we try to make wheelchairs sexy, because everybody should feel that way when they're in something every day, right?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Nice.
Well, that was good.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so with this enabling them to be able to go anywhere, what have you seen the results of people being able to get outside or into these places for the first time?
Yeah, one of my favorite stories. So I talked about Zion National Park at the beginning. In July of this past year, Zion National Park got their first of our wheelchairs to make available for all of their guests. And within 5 minutes, we're delivering the chair. We're taking pictures in front of the big flagpole that's right there outside of the visitor center. And a mom and her son, not even within 5 minutes, her son's in a wheelchair, and she comes up and says, "What is this? What's going on?" And so we start telling her, like, this is going to be available here at the park for anybody that needs it to be able to use it. Come check it out here from the visitor center and go hike anywhere in the park. And I'm sorry, I get a little emotional just because I picture my grandpa in the same scenario. This mom just breaks down in tears. Not 5 minutes from us delivering this chair, because she goes, "I never thought that my son would be able to go on a hike with us. I never thought that he'd be able to get out of the car and see more than the parking lot of these places." And even not 5 minutes before we got onto this call, I got off of the phone with a mom who just got her chair. And she said, for the first time in 42 years, my son is outside and on the dirt. 42 years, she was inside and she was confined to these sidewalks and these paved places. And there was a trail across the street from her house. And now she's out there doing this.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm sure you've seen the Team Hoyt, the father-son marathon runners. You know, that first time, it just made me think of his son, you know, after he did the first run, you know, it was like, he said something like it was like I was running along with you, or I was right there. You know, it was the first time he ever felt like everyone else, or feeling like he was running alongside or swimming alongside or riding the bike alongside, and like how motivating as a father, right? That like drove him, which is such a touching story. And you get to be a part of that. That's awesome. The
part about, sorry to interrupt you. My favorite part about his story too is it turned his father into this ultra marathon runner because he didn't want to do that before. Yeah. And so it's really fun to see stories like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The anecdote from that too, of like, he got good enough that people were like, well, why don't you just race by yourself? You could probably like compete and like win. And he's like, oh, I couldn't run without my son.
Yeah.
He's what makes this possible. And I thought that's so beautiful. Like the organization, this wheelchair has been around for how long? Like you've been there for 2 years.
We've been around for about 8 years total.
Okay. And like, how are people finding you? Like you started in Utah. It sounds like you've had some stuff all over the world with this. Like what's the reach right now?
So we're mainly in the US right now. We do a lot of work in Canada too. Europe, we're breaking in there. The issues that we run into is shipping overseas is fairly expensive, and where our piece of equipment is fairly specialized and large, it gets harder that way. But we're all over the place. There's about 800 chairs out there in the world right now. And it's lots of stories just like what I'm saying, of people getting out and doing things that they never thought possible.
Yeah. And as far as like organizational structure, so the main company is Extreme Moto, is a for-profit. People are buying these chairs. It's just a typical business. Is that accurate, or how you set up?
Yeah, so people are buying the chairs, and we do a lot of work from a programming standpoint for organizations, because obviously we're kind of niche. This is something that's been around for a really long time. There's no SOP of how to do this and how it works. So we do a lot with that. So we sell direct to consumers. A lot of what my role is, I work a lot with the businesses, the nonprofits, and the government entities that we work with that make these chairs available. And then there's only 6 of us on our team. So we have 2 people building the chairs. We have me, who works on selling, works on those relationships, works directly with customers. And then we have Ryan and Sam. And so anybody who's seen our videos, Ryan and Sam is the reason that we have the reach that we do. We have such a large social media following because people like to hear Sam laugh. And they've liked to hear Sam laugh for the last 6 years. And
tell us about Ryan and Sam. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam and Ryan, everybody thinks that we built this chair for Sam just because before Sam and Ryan came along, nobody knew who we were. So Ryan and Sam went to high school together. And so Ryan was working an industrial job doing safety training videos. And he was doing that for about 5 years. And he was an electrician before that, just dirty black all the time. And so then this opportunity came up. He was on Upwork. He was looking for something new and different. And so Ryan Adam, who was the one who originally started the company, he's like, yeah, come make some videos for us. And Ryan's like, oh, this is perfect. I have this friend, Sam. And then they went and made a really terrible video. You can ask Ryan about it. He says, this is the worst video I've ever made. And Adam fell in love and somehow convinced Ryan to quit his job and come work for Extreme Motos full time. And Ryan and Sam just started going everywhere. The first real hike that they ever went on. And the reason that our new logo, we just rebranded a little bit, is Delicate Arch. So they went to Delicate Arch, and it was really funny because as Sam and Ryan get up to Delicate Arch, that's a grueling hike for anybody who's ever been on it. And to carry somebody in a to push somebody in a wheelchair all the way up to where the arch is it's crazy, quite frankly. Yeah. And then you looked over at Sam, and this was the first video that Ryan and Sam really ever made. You looked over at Sam and said, Sam, how do you feel? You're here. And he just, oh, it's cool. He just says that. And then he looked over at his mom, and his mom was like trying to hide because she was just bawling. Because it's the same story. For 38 years, Sam and his mom sat in the car. Well, Sam's brother and dad would go on these hikes. And so now we say we make a living off of making Sam laugh. And all of the money that we make from our social media, it all goes to Sam. Every dime that we've ever made has went to Sam. And so Sam's getting older, as we all do. And where he has cerebral palsy, it gets hard sometimes, but it's really awesome just to make Sam laugh and hear how he connects with people, because we don't have some fancy videography crew and really fancy editing. And that's part of what makes us who we are, is we make everybody feel like, hey, this is me. We've got that average Joe type feel on our videos that just allow people to really connect with us. And it's really awesome.
And give me a sense of how your social media has grown, like how many people are seeing Sam smile.
Yeah, that's the craziest part about all of this. So when I started in July of 2024, we had probably about 300,000 followers, and our videos were reaching, impressions wise, and reaching about 1 to 2 million people a month. Now, here we are almost 2 years later. We have almost 900,000 followers on social media.
Wow.
And our average impressions is 140 million a month.
Wow.
So over those just over 18 months, the growth and the people that have seen us is crazy. But we still have to go to all these events. And every time we go somewhere, like just this last week, we were at this event called the Abilities Expo. Strictly for people with disabilities, equipment that's there specifically for them to make their quality of life better. And there was maybe 10 out of the 8,000 people that were there that had seen us before. So it's crazy how even though our reach is that big, there's still lots of people that don't know about us.
Yeah. Which is part of what your job is, right?
Yep. That's exactly what my job is.
Yeah. Do you find, though, that are a lot of individuals buying these, or you've talked about like locations having a dedicated wheelchair? Like this probably isn't an everyday use kind of chair. It's more like if you want to go off-roading kind of thing. Is that accurate, or how do you see that?
Yeah, that's exactly accurate. So we sell, just because of our social media, we sell probably 70% of our sales go direct to our customers and our clients, the people that are using the chair, albeit once a month. To talk to a family last week that they used their chair 4 times a week just to go out on the sidewalk just because it's easier. And then about 30% of our sales come from businesses, organizations, government entities. And that's a lot of what I do from the grant side, because I never want the cost of our chair to be a barrier to entry, because again, that's not fair.
Yeah.
So I work a lot with families, and I work a lot with those government entities so that they can make their spaces accessible and allow more people to enjoy the beautiful spaces that they're able to have available.
Yeah. What are some of those spaces you've made available now with your chair?
So every national park in Utah will have one of our chairs by this June, which was one of my main goals from the beginning. So we're in about 12 national parks, counting those 5 here in Utah. And then we have a lot of city organizations that I've been able to get some grant funds for, from anywhere from Maine to California to Florida and everywhere in between. So just about every state, July, every state in the US will have at least one chair available. And then Alaska, Hawaii, there's a bunch of organizations in Canada. It's really been one of those things where there isn't any space that we haven't tried to get to. It's just a question of talking to the right person.
So if someone was interested in utilizing one of those chairs, like how's that even work? Do they contact the National Park Service, or what's the protocol for that?
So for the most part, we have a rental map on our website that needs to be updated, but you can go there. It will have the contact information of the organization. For the most part, majority of the organizations have it on a first come, first served basis. All of our national parks and state parks, that's how they run. And so a person can just show up. If the chair is available, then they can just use it. They check it out. There's a quick 5-minute safety video just to go over the basics of how to use it, because it's not your everyday wheelchair, though it is pretty simple. And then they're able to go out and enjoy it. And a lot of the cities and other organizations like that have them, they check it out just like a library book. You're able to take it, go out for anywhere from 3 to 7 days is what's typical, and then bring it back and then do it again when you need the chair next.
Thanks. So I was curious too, like when we first met, one of the questions you brought up was looking for an executive director for a nonprofit you didn't intend to start. Tell me about that story.
Yeah, so this nonprofit came because I was writing all these grants for so many organizations. I think my total is up to, I've helped more than 130 organizations get grant funding in the past 12 months. Wow. That's really when I started doing this, doing the grant side of it. And I was like, wait, we should be getting some of these grant funds too. And we obviously can. And we had all these really cool ideas, like an adaptive ops course that we put together, and just making more stuff available to where we're at. There isn't a whole lot right now. And so we were like, oh, we can do this. We can figure this out. That process took way longer than we ever thought it would. And so then we started this nonprofit, and then it was like a switch turned on. All these people that had been watching our videos for years and years saw this. We just recently, in the last 2 months, we put a little link in every video that takes you to this nonprofit's website. And the results have been incredible. We haven't actively went out and asked anybody for money, and we fundraised more than $170,000 since September. And so that executive director was because, hey, none of us really have time to do this to the scale that this apparently is needed. And so we did open up an application. We're reviewing candidates right now, and I am extremely excited based on the people that we've seen apply.
Love it. So what does the nonprofit do that the main business isn't doing? Like, how are they different in roles?
Yeah, so the whole goal of the nonprofit is to create events and spaces where these people are only included, but are the priority. Because a lot of the organizations, to no fault of their own, the biggest population that they serve is those people that are able-bodied and able to do this. So the nonprofit really focuses on creating those exclusive opportunities that are also inclusive. So the focus is on them inviting the rest of the, while also inviting the rest of the community to do this. And so one of the big things that the nonprofit's doing is we started last year and did this really awesome wheelchair obstacle course that we had a lot of able-bodied people come to, where we had tires that they ran through and went up and down a hill and through the skate park and through pump tracks, and then went through a big foam canyon at the end. And they got these huge, really beautiful medals. Mine should be on my desk. I'm not going to try and find it. And they all got t-shirts, and they had a DJ that was shouting out these people's names as they were crossing the finish line. We got race bibs, and there were a lot of able-bodied people there too. And the entire Pleasant Grove football team, I'll give them a huge shout out because they're one of the groups that made it possible. They volunteered, and they were pushing these kids around and around 5 or 6 times. And at the end of it, every one of those football kids was coming up to us to say, thank you. This is something that I never knew was out there. I never knew how many people. That first event that we threw together in 3 weeks, we had 50 wheelchair users show up. And so that's really the focus of the nonprofit, is to help more of those people feel truly included in the places where they live. So this year we already have 4 of those obstacle courses scheduled, mainly here in the Western US, as we try to expand, but it's really cool.
Yeah, love that. Yeah. And you brought up a thing of just like, I didn't realize how many people had that challenge. What are help give some context for us, like for a listener, like how many people have mobility issues in the world or in the US, or what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so 1 out of every 4 people here in the US suffer from some sort of mobility challenge. So that just really put it into perspective. And it's funny because you go to a lot of these gatherings where you see like a large group of people. You go to a football game, you go to a baseball game, and opening day just happened for baseball. And you don't really see that. But a lot of those people aren't the mobility challenge where they're just in a wheelchair. Well, there is a huge percentage of those that you'll never see at these types of events because they're not really accessible as they claim to be.
Yeah.
But those people are sitting out and not really participating, and they may look fine initially, but if you're walking more than 100 yards, they can't do it with any sort of assistance. That's what a large percentage of the population is. 25% of people in the US.
Look how. Well, and I mean, it made me think of, you guys work with Wasatch Adaptive Sports.
Yeah.
That's one of your partners. Yeah. And we had recently featured them as one of 12 nonprofits in a documentary we just debuted for the Utah Nonprofit, or the Nonprofits Film Festival. And they have like a ambassador, Drake, that's, I don't know if you've met him or.
I have met Drake, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He's an awesome kid. But probably my favorite line from the whole film was just this idea of like, we deserve to be outside and we shouldn't be hidden away. And that idea of, because that was kind of a thing, right? Like, I mean, you even think of like the Kennedys, right? There's the daughter that was disabled that no one even knew about, right? It was sort of like we hid people that didn't look like us or could do the same things. And I mean, I'm sure there's still a stigma now. Do you feel like things are getting better with that as far as like disability, like visibility and being willing to see people that have different abilities than us?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's not to that extent anymore. There really was a stigma for a really long time, and really in the past 2 years, I talked to nonprofit groups like Wasatch Adaptive and other nationwide that they talk about how these people, when they go outside, they feel like the celebrities. They don't feel like the outcasts anymore. There's obviously still a lot of work to be done, which is why just last month I was in DC testifying in front of a Senate committee to talk about how a lot of these more rural places don't have the access that some of these other places do. Like here in the Wasatch Front, here in Utah, we have Ogden Valley Adaptive, we have the National Ability Center, we have Wasatch Adaptive. We have lots of groups, but then you go to a place like Moab, that doesn't exist. And so providing those opportunities to all those more rural places where these people still are, maybe not in the quantity that they are close, but again, it's something where everybody should have that opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're getting a lot better.
Yeah. What's your goal for the organization and the nonprofit? Like, where are you trying to go with this?
My real goal is that every national park, every state park, every city, every county, every place where there's people, they have equal access and opportunity to the outdoors. That's what my vision is. And I will not stop until people like my grandpa can go anywhere outside and feel like this place was made for them.
I love that. How do we help you? Like, what do you need right now to get there?
I really need connections and funding opportunities. I'm aware of a lot of grants that mean I can help really everybody that I'm working with right now, but this is very quickly turning into something that we need more help to help these organizations that are these places where people are.
So what are those allies that would help you most right now? Like if we were to help make those connections, like who should we be connecting you with?
I think veteran resource centers are awesome. They're just about everywhere. We don't have a lot of connections there right now. And then just talking to local city councils about things like this. These people hide a lot of the times just because for the same stigmas that you're saying. And providing those connections with those city councils, with those groups that are right where you live, that's really what we need. And then again, on a national level, those veteran centers that are already there and exist, so we can provide more resources for them.
Nice. Let's make some connections for you there. Let's see how we can help realize that vision, right, of having these available in all these places. Yeah. Like before I let you go, like what else do you feel like needs to be said? What else do you want to share, like is in your heart or in your head that needs to come out?
I just feel like the outdoors is for everybody. I've said it a lot, but if I'm doing that, when you see those people outside, when you see the people that you don't think of when you're outside, when you see those people, welcome them. Ask them questions. Ask them about their everyday wheelchair. Ask them about their walker that they have to use most of the time. Ask them about those pieces of equipment. They want to talk to you. And don't make that so taboo of, what is this? I'll just give them space and be willing to help. Our wheelchair, to get to the crazy places that it gets, it's not motorized. we like to say it's blubber powered because I'm a little overweight, but be willing to help and welcome those people as they come outside. And it's probably the first time in their lives that they've done it.
Yeah. If people want to learn more, like where would you point them?
I'd point them towards our website. We have lots of resources there. I'm also part of a really cool group called the National Access Network that was started by a nonprofit group called the Action Foundation. Those are the two places. If you're looking to know how to do more and how to start programming like this, coming to us and that National Access Network is really what will help solidify what you're doing.
Yeah. And on socials, where's the best place to follow?
Extreme Modus. Exactly how it's spelled.
And anywhere like Facebook, Instagram,
Anywhere.
TikTok.
Wherever you are, that's where we are.
Fantastic. Kenny, so glad that our paths crossed that that breakfast meeting and
Definitely.
yeah, cheering on with like the good that you're doing and being a catalyst for getting more people outdoors and opening up the world. Yeah. Beautiful work, and keep up the good work you're doing, my friend.
Thanks. I really appreciate it, Jacob. This has been a pleasure. I don't get to talk like this often.
Awesome. Thank you.